Hey, welcome to the Citizen Mike Show. Thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. My name is Mike Berdinsky, and somewhere on that split screen is Republican Town Councilor Tom Laffin, who is also the Vice Chair of the Wallingford Town Council. Let's get that plug in. Tom, welcome back to the Citizen Mike Show.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, it's budget season. You're doing budget workshops, and first thing we all want to know is, are you having tons of fun?
No.
Come on.
I mean, it's not, I don't know that it's as bad as other years. This budget from the mayor actually lowers the taxes, but because, people's values, the home values of their homes may have gone up. They may be paying more, they may be paying less with that tax increase or decrease, anyway. So it's a different budget. It's the first one I've done like this.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a whole different kind of animal to kind of look at.
I want to talk to you first about something I've been hearing, that there's a very strong movement afoot to increase the mayor's salary, and not by a little. I mean, not by a little. I don't know if the volume picked up, but the numbers that I've heard, that he would go from $96,000, his current salary, to $150,000. Any truth to what I have heard?
Those are the numbers being kicked around. Councilor Shortell actually proposed it, he didn't officially propose it yet. He suggested it in our preliminary discussions.
Right.
The actual proposals don't come until later, I guess. So, I mean, we're always looking to raise the mayor's salary, I guess, and we can only do it in an election year, which this is, a municipal election year. So this is the time to do it. And in the past, the mayor, he says, I don't need it. I don't want it. And it's not necessarily about him. It's about the office as well. It is, Chris had some great numbers. It's, something like, I wrote down, it's, 200 whatever people are ahead of him. Is that what it is?
I don't know. Well, let's assume
in the town, because the teachers and stuff,
yeah.
In the town, make more money than the mayor. Which that seems ludicrous, and I thought that was a great way to kind of look at it prospectively.
Well, finish your thought, and then I
just go. Yeah, so he threw out maybe going up to 150, which is still below what some of our other similar town mayors or executives get.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see. The mayor always says he doesn't want it. We try and increase it. Any other budget games may draw a mayoral veto, and if that holds, then we would lose that increase as well.
Yeah, so for those who have some institutional memory, they may recall that in the past, the mayor has made great political capital out of the fact that he was just the humble mayor of Wallingford, drawn to public service. Money didn't matter. He didn't want to raise, and so at his request, in a way, not to embarrass him, prior councils, you guys included, because you've had ample opportunity to raise a salary, didn't raise a salary. Now
Right.
Suddenly it's like reparations. We're going to have a huge increase to 150 perhaps. And I would say the votes are there for it, and I think you should make the motion to raise it from 96 to 150 and get Shortell to second it. I think that's exactly what you should do. I can promise you 3 Democratic votes, sort of. But why now?
I think, well, we try every other year on some level. Why are we jumping it?
Well, no, I mean, why? I don't know that you've tried every other year. I don't think you have. But why in 2021?
The past couple of years that we have tried, and we try and do it incrementally, we see it goes slow, or then there's an actual the one year, the budget failed or whatever, and it reverted back to the mayor's proposed budget. So I think this is a way of just kind of righting the ship and getting it to where it should be.
I'm not sure that answered my question, but that's okay.
Okay.
I mean, you guys have been in control of the council for like 10 years, the Republican.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't remember.
So it's hard to raise any salary, even ours. I mean, that came up 2 years ago, and it was this big, we can't do that. And some of the councilors like, there's no way. I don't remember the last time the counselor's salary was increased. I think when the charter came into existence, it was, I know at some point it was 4,000, and now there's a $6,000 stipend. But I think it's been a long time since that's even changed. So I think there's a hesitancy because we're in public service to make it look like we're paying ourselves, even though we could not get reelected.
Yeah, so let's get the stated reason for the salary increase. And you mentioned that Councilor Chartel reported that many employees were making more than the mayor. That's not a reason, though. That's not the reason. That's a circumstance. That's a condition. The mayor probably will run again, so this boost in salary will inure to his benefit, but he may not run 2 years after. And so the next mayor, I'm going to sort of, Vinnie Cervoni, that's going to be his raise probably, or Vinnie Testa, that's, his raise. So I'm saying that to give you time to think for a minute. The stated reason for this big raise from 96,000 to about 150, if that's what it is what?
From me or from Chris Shortell?
No, the reason, or the stated reason for what you think, or what, what would be
it's below what the chief executive of a town or a city should be running. I mean, Wallingford's in the, the high 20s as far as the top.
I'm not too
most populous municipality in the state.
So what? I mean, the mayor.
It's a lot of work.
Well, the mayor's going to. I didn't hear.
It's a lot of work. Yes. It's a lot of work. You need to compensate those people appropriately, especially if you want qualified candidates. People that are willing to stop being lawyers in Councilor and Chairman Cervoni's case to be it, you ran, it was different. You were an attorney though.
Yeah. Everyone knows I would have done it for free. They voted against me anyway. So
and I think though, what's interesting is that a lot of the people that run, so, everybody throws around Cervoni and Testa, and the mayor clearly doesn't want the raise. I think all of these people would do it for free, or, if they could just get by in life, it's not about the money, but it's about doing some sort of level or professional compensation.
I'm raising the point not to be argumentative. I'm raising the point to sort of feature this reality that if the mayor's making 96,000 under his proposed budget, if the raise was, let's say, 10%, and every budget thereafter the raise was 10%, you would still be getting the same personalities in Wallingford running for mayor, regardless of whether it was 150 on into the foreseeable future. So I would suggest that this doesn't really move the needle as far as attracting new talent. It's either going to be the mayor as long as he wants to run, or the Democratic or Republican candidate. We're not sure which one it is, but it's one of you guys.
Well, it's more about being fair though, right?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure about that.
For the workload, the pressure, the responsibility.
Okay. We're not being fair. Let's move on.
Sure.
And I want to pivot it around to a town manager form of government, because the salary might attract a town manager who would be hired by the council. They would be under contract to the council to serve the town, run the town day to day for 3 years, 4 years, whatever the contract is. But $150,000 might also attract a political candidate who does not know what he or she is doing.
Sure.
And so the money could draw out someone who's politically popular, has a big Christmas card list, but cannot do the job. And I say, okay, you're paying that kind of money now. Why don't you get a real professional who knows what he or she is doing? And you can still have a mayor that has some powers of appointment, maybe a veto power, could be the figurehead of the community and show up at graduations and make speeches and things. Southington has that, Meriden has that, Cheshire has that. Most towns in the 50,000 population range have a professional town manager, rather than a rank amateur who gets elected on the basis of contacts and pull and campaign.
Rather than an elected CEO, yeah.
Well, yeah. Tell me what's wrong with a town manager form of government for Wallingford? Not in theory, but for Wallingford.
For Wallingford, I don't know that I want to say that it's wrong for Wallingford, except I think, Wallingford's very emotional. The two high schools, one of my favorite comments on Facebook when people are like, should we have one high school? And somebody wrote, we can't even get two little leagues to form into one little league, and you want to merge high schools. It's Wallingford. We get very settled. We get very settled and stuck in our ways and very comfortable with what we have. Mayor's been mayor for a long time, almost my entire life. Mayor Mashinsky has been my representative my entire life. Wallingford gets very comfortable. I think it would take a failed elected mayor in order to move that dial for Wallingford.
You mean someone who botched the job?
Yeah, somebody that got elected, like you described, based on pure popularity, that was completely incapable and completely failed and blew it. And then I think you would see a change. Other than that, I think people in Wallingford are going to be okay to move forward. And there's a lot of talent in Wallingford too. So.
Okay, I get the point, and politically, I tend to agree with you. It's strange to folks to have a town manager, and I think the Republican town committee types wouldn't like it because they want their guy in the position of power, and the Democratic town committee types wouldn't like it because they envision their guy as a Democrat in power. So, the political powers that be certainly don't want it. But I'm brushing them aside. I said, I don't care what they want. I want what's best for the town. And they're going to have to understand that there's new opportunities if you have a town manager, an opportunity for maybe even better leadership, which means new things. One, a lack of partisanship when it comes to running the day-to-day operations of the town. That's a benefit of a town manager system, yeah?
Right, if you're accepting the concept that there is partisanship in the way that the town operates.
Isn't there?
No.
Okay.
And part of the problem isn't just that each party thinks that their guy can handle it, as each party does right now. And I think, speaking as a Republican, looking at some of the Democratic candidates, or the hopefuls or the potentials, there's probably people over there that can do it too. That's not the problem. I think I think it becomes more ideological, or more grandiose in that, it's a different accountability level, separation from the people. It becomes more of a business, and it's less of a, hometown, we run the town type of thing. And then it is a complete power shift to do that. You would have a mayor like you said in Meriden or Cheshire or something. But then a lot more power transfers to the council, as just like the Board of Education oversees the superintendent. Yeah. I mean, that basically becomes the way that it would go.
Well, let me give you an example, which is going to be a segue to the next segment of this show, the next thread of the show. I'll give you an example, and after this description, we'll pick it up the next time you and I meet, which might be in a couple of weeks to finish the conversation because it's a complicated one.
Yeah.
But let's supposing there is this is hypothetical, right? I'm making this up. If there's any similarity to current conditions, any similarity, I can't help it.
The disclaimer at the end of all the TV shows and movies. Yeah.
So let's supposing the current chief executive does something very poorly that no private business would tolerate, like stashing money away in accounts, not reporting them. They're tax dollars, or could be tax dollars that could be put to better use, but they're just not. And in the private sector, this would just not work. That anyone who managed finances that way would be fired. But because of political partisanship, the political supporters on the town council have to accept that, welcome that, make up excuses for it, which they would never do if it was a town manager. They would call that town manager out and say, fix it, change it, and do better. But you certainly can't do that if you have a political person in the mayor's seat. So given that pure hypothetical, and it could be an ideology against labor unions, it could be ideology against technology. I mean, there could be a lot of, little areas that a business would not tolerate of a manager, that a town council would not tolerate from a town manager. But if it's a political person, suddenly it's okay. Your thoughts?
I think politics is politics, but I also think that businesses run certain ways anyway, regardless. And what's different about us in a situation or the PUC or anything is that we have that the people, the townspeople, the citizens are the shareholders, right? They're the ones that benefit from it versus a company that is owned by the CEO that is directly controlling all the budgets, and all the extra money goes in his pocket anyway. When you look at the larger corporations, like CLP or whatever, CLMP, they have, I mean, this is what you run into, where you budget, and is it an intentional? Is it malicious? Is it like sneaky, hiding little pockets of things? I don't know. You look at the Board of Ed, people say that it could exist on the Board of Ed, and we have that town manager style system going on over there too. So I think it's just that scenario is going to exist regardless, because a town manager is going to be playing politics against the town council and whatever elected mayor there is. And now that may shift more frequently or easily in a case like Wallingford. But anyway, look, like you said, the Republicans have been in control of the council for 10 years. There was a shift in the Board of Ed, but other than that, I think that's just the way human management and politics goes. It's that kind of stuff's going to happen anyway. And then you really have to look at the intent, and is it malicious? Is it sneaky?
No,
is it wrong, or is it just like a style? I don't know.
It's just underperformance. That's all. It's just bad performance. So because of politics, we tolerate it. I want to swing over to the budget again and the capital accounts again, because it seems to me that this year, that's where the action could be. That's where the action should be, rather than department by department, little cuts, nipping at the heels of the department here and there. The real money is in the capital accounts, although that's a complicated subject. And let me phrase the issue this way. If the council so desired, it could probably get to a zero tax increase or much less of a tax increase.
Dollar amount increase, you mean?
Yeah.
Because the mill rate is going down.
Yeah, no, dollar amount. The amount of your tax bill. It could get to a very close to a zero tax increase by better management of the capital accounts. Let me just add a sentence, and I'll swing it over to you. As we know, the viewers of this show know, every year, every budget year, the council appropriates money from the electric division because it is a division of the town of Wallingford, right? And so the mayor and the council reach into the treasury of the electric division, and they pull from the electric division this year about 1.8 million in rounded numbers. The council now has a choice. It could use that 1.8 million for any reason it wants, including tax relief, or it could put it into the capital non-recurring fund. The capital non-recurring fund and other capital funds have lots of money in them. There's no need to put it in the capital non-recurring fund this year. There's a lot of old money. There's other capital accounts going on. It seems that we're appropriating money into the capital accounts faster than we can spend it. Why not use it for the benefit of the taxpayers?
I've constantly or consistently opposed the use of that money for recurring fees, because it aside from the fact that we have an ordinance that says this is what the money is from. This is what it's for. I'm sorry. I don't like the idea of using money like that for recurring expenses. It's more project money. We took from that fund last year, and I did not support that budget, but the rest of the council did. And now we didn't really see a real effect from that, a consequence from that, because of the shift of property values and whatnot. what really impacted it gets shifted around. But I think there's always a danger in using that type of money in recurring expenses. And you talked about there's no need. There's always a need. First of all, you want to budget each project or capital expense appropriately so that you're not running short. And then if there's leftover money, I think the key, as we've discussed before on your show, is to be aware of what that money is. And we've become better at that in the last couple of years. And we have two major expenses coming up. We have the police station, which we just are purchasing property. And then there are going to be required renovations and upgrades as we go to make that new property over in the Barnes Park appropriate. And then the pool, which I think should happen. You think it should happen too. You just don't think it will. But those are things that we could, we would bond, but this could decrease the amount of money that we would need to bond. And then otherwise, I don't know what you spend it on. You buy little things here and there, or you offset. I mean, it's relative at that point. Like if you're going to just keep taking it off the tax, the tax increase for operating expenses, then what do you do in a year where you have to buy a lot of stuff and then it shifts all back over?
I can answer. That's an easy question. That's an easy question and answer. So we'll start this way. I hear you that you don't want to use the money that originates in the electric division for operational expenses. That's a personal choice you're making. I get it. It's not written that it has to be done that way. That's your personal choice, and balanced against that personal choice.
My financial practice, yeah.
That's your financial practice. That's exactly right. The other financial practice is that when we can give the residents of Wallingford tax relief, we do it. That could be the other financial practice. And so they're there. Both of them are out there on the table. You pick one, I might pick another. But there seems to me the worst consequence is that you take it from the residents of Wallingford, either through electric rates or through taxes, and you put it aside, and year after year, you don't touch a portion of it, so that we find ourselves in the situation we are in 2021, where very recently we have this disclosure, shocking in my view, that we've accumulated under the radar $2.4 million with no promise, given this budget, that it's ever going to be used for anything. It's just going to continue to sit there. And I say that because the mayor came out with his budget, but none of that 2.4 is touched. It could rot there for another 10 years. That's the worst possible outcome. Just my view, though. Your thoughts?
No, it's up to the mayor and the council to decide what to do with that money. And we, like I said, we have the two large expenses. This amount of money is money that's been left over. It wasn't $1 million off one project. It was like a little here, that it adds up. I don't know. To me, that money is perfect for something like the pool. When you were talking about the sticker shock of, well, we wanted to spend 4, it came in at 6. All this cuts off the difference, and we're back to where we were planning. So.
But as long as we have this mayor, we're never going to see a pool. So that's going to rot there. That money's going to rot there for another 10 years.
That's your opinion.
Just life. And the police station, if the mayor said we're going to use that for the police station, fine. But he's going to bond that. He's going to bond that police station. That's
and most of it, and it should be. I mean, we have a pretty good bond rate. So
that leaves us with $2.4 million on hand, unallocated in the capital non-recurring fund. And I say tax relief is on the table. You say it's not.
So then what do you do when the following year you've used it for recurring expenses? Now you're dependent on those programs and those staff. And now you've got to raise the taxes to compensate.
There's plenty of money. There's plenty of money that is allocated. It's about $3 million. I didn't do the math for this show, but there's plenty of money allocated in the capital non-recurring fund for paving, curbs, lights, plenty of money in there. And there's other stuff, capital grants on hand. The council has never inquired into as to what they could be used for. I don't think they're going to inquire into it this year either. I'm looking you right in the eyes, and I see you're not going to ask about the other capital money and could they be used for capital expenses that are currently in the budget. It's just not going to happen that way.
Well, the money that's been allocated for those things, like the paving, then we should be looking at it in the following year, see how much money of that was left over. Now, when we asked about that last year, they were behind in the paving projects and they were going to catch up this past year.
So, yeah.
So we just keep rolling forward.
Yeah. So let's get a little specific. So in this year's capital non-recurring budget, more money for townwide paving, 913,000, even though we have old money still sitting there. And one has to ask, how come the old money hasn't been used up? And is Public Works really going to spend $913,000 in the next fiscal year for paving when they've never used an entire allocation in 1 year? Never. That's why that money has built up. Wait, I'm not done. Sidewalk replacement program townwide, 100,000. We've never spent an allocation, all the money that's been appropriated. It's been saved up. Not all of it. A lot of it's been used, but it's more than you're probably going to need. Same with town-wide guardrail replacement and signal replacement, then curbing replacement, town-wide projects. I mean, and then the big one, South Turnpike Culvert rehabilitation, 443,000. Does anyone really believe the town's going to spend in the next fiscal year 443,000? I don't think. Well, I don't know what you believe, but I don't believe it based on history. So that's the sort of the problem I see before I get into the charter by the violation of law. But you can respond to whatever.
Now, so what do you do then? So some of these are projects that are from last year, 2 years ago, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So do you have like a makeup year where you just kind of like you kick all that money back, you pay for recurring expenses,
no,
and then you have to raise the taxes?
That's a good
twice
question
to make up for it.
Here's what you do:
to compensate.
You skip a year
as they catch up, right?
You skip a year.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah, you skip a year like this year. Don't put 1.8 million in the capital non-recurring, and use all
chunk of it out last year.
Use all that still old money. Remember, there's 2.4 million, Tom, sitting there. Use that old money that's currently allocated. That's in other capital grants, and all the projects that you could possibly do still get done. And then next year, resume your practice of 1.8 million every year, and then it gets point where it's building up like it is right now, then you take another year off.
Okay.
Hey, look, to be revisited the next time we cross swords here, but I want to talk about Wi-Fi at Town Hall.
Yep.
This came up at a budget workshop, and this is an issue burning a hole in the minds of all residents of Wallingford. How come we don't have Wi-Fi at Town Hall? They're all upset about it.
Yeah.
Then I come to find out that it's only for the counselors, not the public.
Yeah.
What's up?
So I don't know. Is everybody gonna come to like hang out at Town Hall and use the free Wi-Fi or something after? I don't get. I mean, the network is the network, and the computers are plugged in, and I do IT, and it's always preferable to be hardwired versus Wi-Fi. But anyway,
yeah.
So the Wi-Fi comes in as an operational part of the council. We're up there, we're separated, we don't have ports. We have a lot of people have iPads now, or they're using their phones, and you look up something quick, and you're trying to, whatever. And reception's not wonderful. It's okay, it's good, but it's not lightning fast. And sometimes when Councilor Zandri is shooting off his numbers, and you want to look up something quick, and you're waiting for it to load. So I think this was a plan we talked about 3 or 4 years ago, and then the state budget kind of completely caved. We froze all that, and we never actually went back to it. I'll even take responsibility for that, for not forcing it back. And maybe it was because my Wi-Fi, my cellular plan changed, and I didn't need it anymore because I had unlimited data. Yeah. So I didn't feel the pressure like other people do. So it's purely an operational thing. I mean, there's a security concern, I guess. We'd have an access point, and this isn't like $100 access point you're buying at Office Max or Staples or whatever. I mean, this would be a commercial access point that would be able to reach a decent amount of that area to make sure that everybody's covered and handle 9 people at a time, plus whatever government TV might have a use for it. Now we did wire the government TV room a couple months ago with broadband, and part of that is to help that software and equipment and streaming and things like that in the future that we're all working towards. So that is the first real opportunity we have to put a decent access point in. Now the question is, we have to route it through. I mean, my proposal was we just route it straight to the internet. That's it. No connection to the town network, which is a large concern, especially with the mayors. Just go straight out to the network. But there's still a liability there if somebody came and was using the town Wi-Fi to do things. So I think it's all part of it's all little steps. But we have a need for it now. It's coming out of the town council budget. It would be for the town councilors and related staff and operations in the meetings. I'm sorry, not just town councilors necessary, but maybe the Board of Ed when they're there as well. So that's just where we're starting. I don't know of any situation where I've seen people out in the audience and they can't participate or make some sort of meaningful contribution because they didn't have Wi-Fi. So I don't know that there's a need beyond even our own operation. But we'll see. This is just the first step. And it doesn't mean that once we make this step, maybe soon after we're like, okay, open it. We would be able to have different access points or connection types, guest networks, or whatever. I don't know. But we're just baby stepping it.
I just bring it up not because there's a need, and my first three or four sentences were somewhat playful to indicate that no one really cares.
Yeah.
About it. Well, very few people really care about it.
But the people that do care are very loud about it.
Because very few people go to town hall. I mean, you just don't do it. Right. If you avoid it if you can, it's like the motor vehicle department. You avoid town hall if you can, at least in my view. But I bring it up because there was a choice, it seemed, to allow the public access to the Wi-Fi at probably no additional money or very small additional money. The security concerns seem overblown and more of a pretext than anything else. But a choice was made, keep it operational, which means not for public use. That's what you meant by it's operational, not for the public.
Functioning meetings, yeah.
And that was the choice that was made that I just found curious, that I think a town manager, not a mayor, not a mayor, but a town manager would say, hey, I'm getting $150,000 from you guys, so I'm going to give you my best advice. Of course you make it available to the public. What are you thinking? And that's what he would say, and we would get, we get my money's worth for $150,000. I want to.
You want the job? This is all a big setup so that Mike Rudinski becomes town manager of Wallingford.
Oh, yeah.
And with free Wi-Fi.
You can't afford me yet, not at 150.
See? Well, this is why we have to raise it.
Yeah, anyway. I want to talk to you a little bit about the police department.
Yep.
Because it's an interesting theoretical discussion going on, I guess, about what to do with the old building when they move out, when they move to their new home.
Yeah.
Across Route 68, and that probably could take 4 or 5 years. I mean,
it could take some time, yeah.
Yeah, it could take some time. So we got time to think about it. But what should be the process of making that decision? How would you draw up a plan that the community, if you want them involved, and if you don't, just, give it to the town manager, give it to the mayor to decide? I mean, how do you draw up a process?
Well, I think legally, right? I guess it's up to the mayor. If I was deciding, I guess I'd have some community feedback. Whether we created some sort of committee or commission to look at the use of it. I would not sell the building. I think that's a good property to keep for town community use, not necessarily municipal government, but community use. Just like we kept the old senior center. And now SCOW and the Connecticut STEM Academy are down there. This could be another opportunity for that. Adult education came up. Maybe the Board of Ed will move their offices there. I don't know. I definitely, I think it's important to hear, because maybe there's just things we're not thinking of. Wallingford Community Theater has come up, kind of a center for the arts. Maybe they share it with other organizations as well. I don't know. I think as we're going along, you're definitely going to have a council that is probably interested in a control over that decision. But I think it's important to get a lot of community feedback. And it's not, I know, you could sell the building, right? Put it back on the tax rolls or something like that. And we've gone all this time without that. I think that there's an opportunity to bring something else or somebody else or more people back, downtown, and kind of maintain it's all about control, right? I mean, that's part of my comment on leasing the parking lots behind Simpson Court. It's all about control and influence over that property. And that would be the same thing there. That would also open up that whole back and allow us to really redefine or redesign or put something else back there if we needed to, for that parking space, the Walls Road parking space. So I think there will be community feedback. I think there should be community feedback, but I don't think it's something we should sell.
It was a note in the paper that someone mentioned, I think one of the counselors mentioned, that the property might be worth $3 million. Does that change your mind at all? I mean, should that go, on the scales of justice, community use, or $3 million? Because if it's $3 million and it's sold, it does go back on the tax. Let's say the purchase price is $3 million. Hard to believe, but let's say that is.
Yeah.
The case. It would go back on the tax rolls. And, I hear from your side of the aisle, privatize, business friendly. That's what I hear.
Are you stereotyping me?
Yeah, I kind of am, because we're just having
I'm just
fun.
making sure.
And the reverse treatment is welcome. Okay. I mean,
Oh, all right.
So, I mean, I think that has to be, side by side with municipal uses. We could, and let me just throw out some stuff that kind of makes no sense. You could put the Board of Ed offices there, along with Wallingford Center Inc., along with Hubcap. I'm probably missing some, some offices, I'm not really sure, along with community theater. I mean, you could, fill it that way.
You probably put a bunch of stuff in there, right?
Probably put a bunch of stuff in there. Yeah. But then you say, but I got $3 million. I'm just saying we shouldn't brush aside that $3 million too quickly, but I am.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if through all the discussions, there was no, like, great, let's do this, like no big consensus and everybody's excited. And there was an opportunity, not just to sell it, but it was going to be for a good, something we agreed to, because that's our last chance to have an influence or say over it, right? Whoever we sell it to. Yeah. And then that may go away after a year or two. Then they could turn around and sell it and we've got nothing. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, would I say never sell it? No, but probably not. I think, like we just listed all these people that could be in there even together.
They're possible. Yeah, the possibilities. So do you remember the Wooding Kaplan Study Committee? Do you remember that?
That was a long time ago, right?
Long time ago.
Before, yeah.
How about an old...
I mean, that was like your time. That was before I was really around.
That was. Remember how well that worked out. So, so how about an old police station study committee? You could take...
There we go. And then when I'm hosting Citizen Tom and some other counselor is, you and I could team up. You could be my guest after you've retired, and we can talk about how the old police committee, when building use went on forever, never.
I'm trying to find my mute button, but I couldn't find it in time. And
sorry,
you're able to get
it's in the left-hand corner.
Oh, there.
Yeah. So now, see, the problem was it wasn't so much the study. It was, I think that would be a great political science, review or report or project, is to really look at, that was a lot of different little factions that came together and they amounted to a number enough to band together in a referendum. You could never get more than 2 of those to agree with each other. And it was probably, 7 of them.
Yeah.
It was just a simple, you have to choose yes or no, and that was it. I think other than that, I think it was okay. I think the committee and the review and the council, that all worked well, but it was just.
Well, it took a long time. It took a long time. So I'm looking forward to your motion on the council to form an old police station study committee.
Okay.
So we can get the process,
Each counselor picks one person. It'll be like charter revision all over again.
Oh man, I don't know if that's I guess maybe so. That would stack it, on the Republican end. So, but look, let me change the subject on you, just, if I might. Um, the fire department has been the fire department budget, I should say,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
staffing model has been something I think you've been following maybe more closely than a lot of other counselors, perhaps.
Yeah.
You can address that if you want. We covered this on the show on a couple of different times. And one of the more recent shows, I did some analysis on the costs of the total employee compensation, and it was rising at an unsustainable rate. This budget continues on that trajectory. What are you going to do about it? Is there anything you can do about it? What's the answer?
Yeah, I mean, the answer, we thought, going into this new model that we're going to save money and it's going to be great. And so at least to me, it has not done that. The numbers are completely off in different, in large deficits. So I've been asking more questions. Whenever I get nominated for something, whether it be vice chair or even within the party, people say, oh, Tom doesn't talk all the time, but when he does, it means something. And I don't know if that, because I've been thinking about this and based on the private conversations I've had with other counselors, I think because right away, as soon as this kind of came up, I jumped on it. I was asking questions and with all the answers, it just kind of kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And I think a lot of the not the silence, but the silence or the quiet from the other counselors is that, I guess I hit all the points. I don't know. And we're all waiting to see what's going to happen. Nobody has said, Counselor Laffin, you're being ridiculous. Why are you asking these questions? And nobody has said that. Instead, I have sidebar conversations and everybody seems to be in agreement and everybody kind of is keeping an eye on this big increase with this budget that we can talk about in another time because we'll see how that flushes out. Does this right the whole ship? I don't know. I hope so, but this isn't what we originally signed up for. And then just some of the inconsistencies. I just want to figure out what's going on, and if somebody made a mistake, then just say it and let's fix it. But sometimes there's one answer. No, we're not going to come back. We're done, and then they're back, and it's just like, can we make up our minds? Like, did you not know that you were coming back, or did you know and didn't want to say it? Like, because there's only two options, and you got to pick one. Like, I don't know, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Which do you prefer? What side do you prefer to be on?
Yeah. My running the numbers quickly on the fire department indicated that wages and salaries are budgeted to rise 7.9% per year from June 30, 2017 through June 30, 2022. That's the budget you're working on now. 7.9% per year, I would characterize as unsustainable.
Yeah.
When you add it, just taking overtime, wage differential, and replacement pay, that's another category of employee compensation.
Right, which is a complicated system.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
Very, and seems to impact uniform services only. But overtime, wage differential, and replacement pay, whatever those are, you can explain that at a council meeting or something. They're supposed to rise 12% per year over that same span. So obviously we have a problem. I've been thinking about this too, as you have. I don't have an answer except for this, and it's unsatisfying. Is that the next time you have a fire department labor contract or a police contract, because the police sort of have similarities as far as this overtime and wage differential,
they do. Right,
and replacement pay, that more care, time, and attention be given, like a town manager would give, not like a mayor, because he baked us into this cake, frankly, but a town manager would look at the consequences of the labor contract that you approved. So when you go into executive session or wherever you do, don't give it superficial treatment because look what happened. I think both the police contract and the fire contract have resulted in these increases. The police department overtime, wage differential, and replacement pay are budgeted to rise 12.34%. from 2017. So they seem to be living, they love that, that overtime and replacement pay, and it's just not going to work in the long run.
It's not. And I asked, I think in December, I said, how come the police department's not seeing this too? I don't get it. Because they said, oh, it's, COVID, the pandemic, it's complicated. Well, that's relative. Like, then the police department should be more or less some sort of up, even if it's not as much.
Yeah.
And then they, came, well, it wasn't COVID, and so again, it's like, which is it, and, the town manager versus mayor thing, that you're still going to have a town manager playing the politics that you're claiming hypothetically exists, and doing their own little games with things like that. So I think that's relative, but
I'm being
this is unsustainable. It is completely unsustainable. And these are zeros and ones. There is an answer. I just don't understand why we don't have it, or how we ended up here, number one. And then once we're done with that, then what do we need to do to really fix it?
So as you were talking, it popped into my mind. So you have not yet, at the time we produced this show, had the uniformed service of the public safety, fire department, and police department in front of you.
No.
You could ask them what is their solution to controlling this category of employee compensation. Now, one complicating factor that the raw numbers don't address is if staffing goes up, certainly the gross number goes up, but overtime, wage differential and replacement pay should not go up faster than wages and salaries. You can't be using overtime as an excuse for short staffing.
Right. I mean, there should be an equation. There should be. It's relative. When I do budgeting for where I work, the revenue of how much you think you're going to sell as far as services should be in an equation directly tied to what you're budgeting for the expense of those salaries, insurance, and whatnot. And this doesn't seem to be that.
We're running out of time, but I think we can button it up this way. Sure. I think the next time you and I meet, you will have heard from the fire department and the police department.
Yep.
And we can bring it up then, find out, if you ask those sort of questions, if they give you straight answers, if anyone knows, has a way out of this, we can take it up then. But one final question for you, changing the subject a bit. Have you gotten a lot of feedback this year from residents over the budget, over the tax increase? Is this a quiet year?
This is quiet.
It's a quiet year.
Very quiet.
Okay.
Very quiet. Last year was a lot, it seems like. And this year it's very quiet. And people understand that they may be paying more, but taxes are going down, and people are okay with it. It's very, very quiet. It's almost unsettling quiet. And I don't know, I guess it does always seem a little quieter in an election year, which seems weird. It seems like it'd be the opposite to me. It's unsettling to come off how bad last year felt and into this year.
Yeah.
So it's part of it, like, you don't want to look over your shoulder because you're afraid, there's something charging behind you. Just enjoy the bliss while you have it. But yeah, it's been really quiet.
So let's make that the final word, because we are running out of time. Thanks for coming on the show. We're going to see you soon and pick up some of these topics again. And thank the viewers. Thank you, viewers who watch us. We try to produce these on Wednesdays. It's up on YouTube Wednesday night or maybe Thursday. WPAA, and thank you, Susan Heisinger and WPAA TV, for broadcasting the Citizen Mike Show on Thursdays, Fridays, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. We used to say if it's 9 at night, it's Citizen Mike. Hey, good night, Tom. See you next time around.
Mike.
Thanks for coming on.
See you later. Thanks.